Hello, everyone. My name is Sunil Anand Tirtha, basically from Bangalore, currently at Coventry University. I just finished my PhD in aerospace materials and engineering. I'm very interested in pedagogy of engineering education and also higher secondary education. In this regards, as I had told you before, we will be making a series of videos with respect to education in India. And this is the second such video in this. With us, we have Ms. Hema Ramaswamy. She has been a phenomenal educator over the years, and have the pleasure to say that I was her own student from 97 to 2000. And having recognized the importance of education from higher secondary and also elsewhere, I thought she is the best person to contact in respect to this, because it's always important to take the opinions and the discussions forward with people who have been very experienced and who also have out of the box thinking in these respects. So with this, I would love to introduce to you all Ms. Hema Ramaswamy. Madam, I would like to ask you, could you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I have been a teacher, and I've been a teacher for a very, very long time. But proper teaching I did for 25 years, a little more than 25 years. And I realized that I could teach when I was just about 10, 12 years old.
Wow.
When my neighbor told me if I could help out her child with learning A, B, C, D.
Okay.
And that child did phenomenally well in the exams. But I never wanted to become a teacher. Just before I got married, my father wanted me to do B.Ed. I refused because
Okay.
I had other plans. And then destiny brings you just where you need to be.
Yes.
So when I went to drop my son was 2.5 years old. I went to drop him in the school, and the school management, they said that we want you to head this school. And I was kind of taken aback. They said, we are really impressed and we want you to head this school.
Wow. Okay.
So my journey started from there. And that was a small school where only the workers' children were there. It was an ordnance factory school, and workers' children were there.
Okay.
So economically weaker section. And I really enjoy teaching there.
Yes.
Because it was an out of this world experience. I was not exposed to that part of children, where they need to be, they are from the lower strata of the society, who can't pay their fees.
Yes.
Who cannot buy even a pencil.
That is true.
You won't believe it. The children used to come with one pencil cut into 3 parts. The mother would give them 1 part every day. For me, it was like a culture shock. I realized what it is to be educated from that strata, and that really got me interested. Of course, later I did my B.Ed. And one more thing that has helped me is, since my husband was in the army, we got transferred every 1.5, 2 years. So wherever we went, I joined the school there. And that way I was exposed to many more people, many more children from different cultures, from different backgrounds, each one coming with his or her own problems, each one coming up with their own talents. So that really widened the horizon. I'm so grateful to God that this opportunity was given to me. Had I been a teacher in one school, teaching in the same school for 25, 30 years, perhaps I wouldn't have been so successful as I was, because I could understand children from different strata of the society, different places. So that's about what sums up. I started with a school which had children from very poor family, and my last school was a school where the creme de la creme of the society, they sent their children, the ministers, the actors, and all.
Okay.
So from this to that was a big transformation.
Yes.
And making a success of both.
Yeah.
You know, being a successful teacher there and
Yes.
here
Yes.
was really enriching for me.
Yeah.
Enriching experience for me. And I have very fond memories. In fact, I can remember most of my children from the first school, of course, to the last school. And now with the social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, and all, I'm able to keep in touch with my students. And like I say always, they are my bachas. I have my own 2 children, 2 sons, but I have hundreds of other children.
Yes.
So it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think part of what you said about your experience sums it up regarding the wonderful experience that I had as being your student in 97 to 2000. I think now I see the the fundamental basis behind the experience what I had. And other one, you already highlighted the spectrum of students you have taught, like from economically backward towards economically very well resourceful. And if I would like to explore a different aspect of the spectrum of students, whether they are economically backward or economically very well to do, there are certain other segments of students. You can look at students in different perspectives based on how well they understand, how well they don't understand. That is number one. Based on how steep their learning curve is or how shallow their learning curve is, how quickly they can learn. And the third category are, there are so many categories. Could you please tell us about these sides of the spectrum of students that you have come across?
Yeah, in a class, in India, we have schools where there are 70 children, yes. Or there are like the last school, which was an international school, where they restricted the number of students to 36. Okay. That was the lowest in any class that I have had, because the first school I worked in, we had 75 children, and it was a kindergarten school. So from there to this, dealing with these children with different learning abilities. Yes. Some of them grasp things very fast. Very fast. Some take time, and some are late bloomers. So as a teacher, it is very unfair to think that all will join together and score 90% or 95%, because in India, we have this, we want children to score marks. The parents want children to score marks. The society wants children to score marks. And the children themselves are forced to score marks. And they're branded as useless if they don't score enough. Absolutely useless if they score below 50. And useless if they score about 70. And only the 90 plus are considered to be excellent. But in my experience, that is not true. Learning happens at every level.
Correct. Yes.
So some are able to learn and express themselves back. After all, how do we test them? We give them a sheet of paper and we ask them a question. And if the girl or the boy is able to answer the question to the teacher's satisfaction, let me underline that.
Yes.
Then we say, oh, this child is brilliant. It is not fair.
Yeah.
The child, every child, if taught properly, grasps things. That I came to know much later after leaving the school, particular school, when children would contact me and tell me, for example, I'll give you an example. There was this boy in one of the schools I taught in Calcutta. And he was more into dancing, singing and all. Right. And, he was kind of effeminate. So all the children in the school would laugh at him. The teachers would laugh at him. And I used to feel sad for him. So in a school where no dance, no singing was allowed, I introduced dance and singing, gave him a chance. He won the thing. Today, he's a very fine actor.
Wow. Yeah.
TV actor. And he always gets back to me. And I follow him because he keeps sending me links And he always tells me, Hema ma'am, you were the first one to give me that chance.
Wow.
So, it is not about learning subject.
Mm.
It has to be, the child has to learn how to be a good human being.
That is very true.
That is very important.
Very true.
And learning curve as such varies. It
Yes.
varies from school to school, from class to class, from child to child. It is very, very unfair to have one learning curve and
Yes.
say everybody
Yes.
has to fall into it. It's not fair. And learning happens when the class is interesting for the child. The child should look forward. Oh, this teacher is coming. So I'm going to learn something new. She or he is going to tell me something more. It is not restricted to subject matter. Subject matter, you would have realized my teaching subject matter used to take only 20 minutes.
Yes.
The rest of the 20 minutes was spent telling stories, sharing anecdotes, jokes, which made that learning, it used to act as, what do you say? I'm not getting the word, I'm growing old. It used to link that with the present and the child's life. It's very important, that you touch the child's life. And like in the first school, the children came from very poor families. They had they had a severe inferiority complex, because there were some children who came from very good families. So these children grew up with an inferiority complex. So to come down to their level and tell them it is okay. It's okay, doesn't matter. If you put them at ease, then learning happens.
True.
Because otherwise the child's mind is blocked by all these things.
That is very true.
So it is, you have to understand. And why did they introduce parent-teacher meet? So that we could meet the parents and understand what it is. So many a times the child is having a very traumatic time at home.
Yes.
And it is very important that teacher understands and helps the child and not adds to the trauma. A child is not able to do the homework. He or she may be very sincere, not able to do the homework because of the situation at home. So it's wrong to shout at the child, punish the child, give him or her a chance to explain what happened.
Yes.
And then judge, then give the child whatever you want him or her to do. So all these things, you have to go beyond the subject matter to make the child understand. So this learning curve, I really, I don't agree that it has to be the same learning curve for everyone. So sometimes, I may teach a matter today, subject, a proper topic today. And after a month or so, a child comes and tells me, ma'am, that day you taught me, I understood. Instead of laughing at the child that, I taught you 2 months ago and you're coming now, you appreciate. You
appreciate
say,
it.
Very good. Something that you have understood. So learning happens that way. Learning doesn't happen by forcing a child. And I wish parents would also understand, because whenever I have tried to talk to the parents, they've only told me, ma'am, will that get him a seat in the engineering college? Will that get him a seat in the medical college? Now, you're talking about all these things, giving him the space he requires and peace of mind and all. But I need him to get marks. So this kind of pressure on the child doesn't make learning happen. The child might learn by rote. And that is of no use. That is why we have so many engineers who don't even know the Pythagoras theorem. They finished their engineering. They cannot speak 2 sentences coherently, and they don't know the basic. Because so whereas you have some children who haven't done engineering but are able to build beautiful things. So that is learning. That is what is learning. So you can't have one curve saying that, okay, this is how my And I used to get quite upset about it when we had to show this on the graph and all. I always objected to it. I said, no, we should not. And I was against this ranking system,
Yes.
putting the child into intelligent. Intelligence is not tested by academics. There are many other aspects that we need to test.
Very true.
So have I answered your question, or have I continued?
You have spot on answered the question. Yeah. Yeah, I think part of your answer touched upon, what are some of the responsibilities as a teacher? It's not just to deliver the content. It's also to give a stage to the students to whom they are teaching. I mean, the stage could be in different ways, like it is not just a stage with, like students can express themselves, but it's also a stage where the students can discover their own learning abilities. First thing, I think what you said is, it is touching upon the points where you are trying to enable the students to try and understand their own capacities and then compete with their own capacities rather than having to compete with their peers. So
exactly.
Yes.
So the child has to be taught that you do better than what you did yesterday.
Yes.
That is success.
That is correct.
That is success.
That is success.
And another thing that I always thought was teaching a child who gets 90% to and enabling him to get 95% is not rocket science. The child already knows much more. Bringing a child who was getting 40% to 60% is an achievement.
That is
on the part of the teacher.
Very well said. Yeah.
That I think is very important.
That very true. I think that is where you do a real contribution to the society. I mean, where you are giving them the skills and credentials for them to compete in the real world, and also to come up in the real world, even though the real world could be as stereotyped as we are seeing. And you also mentioned that just get the marks for the sake of getting into a seat into medical college or engineering college, because those are just two professions, and there are so many professions elsewhere as well other than engineering and medical.
Parents refuse to recognize it. In your own school, there was this boy who was an outstanding artist.
Yeah.
Once I remember we had a Rangoli competition. Okay. And this boy was absent the previous day. He didn't know. And he didn't bring colors. He didn't bring Rangoli. He asked people. They refused to share. You know how selfish children can be.
Yes.
He was in 9th standard. He went out. He brought some mud. He brought some leaves. And with that, he made the most wonderful Rangoli of Ganesha and won the first prize. Now, when this child finished his PU, I think, the father goaded him that you have to become an engineer. He brought his father here, and I counseled the father also. I told him there are other professions which pay much more. Like my husband's niece, she's a fine artist. And she's earning in lakhs because she makes these special books and things like that. So, and I don't know, she makes a whole lot of exclusive stuff for the Maharaja of Udaipur, for Amitabh Bachchan and things like that.
Okay.
So I showed him what she had made. And I told him this is the kind of money he will earn. But the father went home and all the uncles and aunts told, your son will be ruined if he doesn't do this. And so the poor boy was made to do engineering. He finished his engineering through the degree on his father's face. And he is a art teacher in an international school today.
Wow.
He says, ma'am, I'm going to do what I want to do. This is my passion. And he's doing exceptionally well. The school just loves him because he's able to bring out the best in children who are talented in that.
Very true.
So it's wrong on the part of the parents to just push the child. There was another boy in school who wanted to become an army officer. He used to come and spend hours with my husband discussing how to join and things like that. When he finished his 12th, His mother told him, I'll commit suicide if you don't become an engineer and go to Canada. The poor child today is in Washington, D.C. I met the father, and I spoke to him, and he said, ma'am, he always remembers you. He's got your picture in his house. And he always says that if she had her way, I would have been an army officer. He still regrets, though he is in Washington, still regrets.
it.
So you get only one life. Let the children do what they want to. Let them follow their passion.
Yes.
You know, I wish parents would understand. They always used to tell me, ma'am, you're teaching them all wrong things, you know. They would never understand what the child wants. The child feels stifled.
Yes.
And learning doesn't happen like that. Learning just, yes, discipline is different. Parents, you know, they mix up discipline with pushing the child. Discipline is an entirely different thing. I would never expect my students to be indisciplined, but giving them a platform to go for whatever they want to do. That is where they will excel. That is what they will understand and excel. How much ever we try to impose our subjects and all on them, they will do well in what they feel like.
Yes.
They'll do exceptionally well. I wish parents would understand, schools would understand. There's so much of pressure from the school because they want to show 100%, what do you say, results and things like that. The poor child doesn't know where to turn. You know? And at that time, it is very important for a good teacher to be there and guide the child through all these traumatic times.
Yeah. I think what you said is absolutely right. I think the problem could be in the fact that society and also the education system today, I know, has mixed up the meanings between degree and education. Having a degree is totally different, but to be educated is totally different. I think to be educated.
In this context, I want to read out something very important. Is it okay?
Yeah. Please.
At the end of the Second World War, this letter was found in the Nazi concentration camp. It was addressed to the teachers.
Right.
Dear teachers, I'm a survivor of the concentration camps. My eyes saw what no man should witness. Gas chambers built by learned engineers, children poisoned by educated physicians, infant killed by beautiful nurses, women and babies shot and burnt by high school and college graduates.
Yes.
So I'm suspicious of education. My request is help your students become more humane. Your efforts must never produce learned monsters.
Yes.
Skilled psychopaths, educated illiterates. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are important only if they serve towards making our children more human. What a wonderful thing, whoever this
wonderful
person
message.
was.
Yeah.
What a wonderful message. So today we are seeing violence around. We are seeing children, just not bothered about the other human being. So much of nonsense is happening every day. And I do wonder where the teachers went wrong. And the parents went wrong in teaching, instilling the good values.
Very true.
So it's very important that the child grows up with good values, ethics, morals, all these things, that should be given priority and subject matter after that. It's very important.
Yes. I think by the example that you gave, I think it would be worthwhile to reintroduce concepts or even things like generality and humility, ethics and morality back into the degree system. That would inculcate the educational values into degree system where it is missing currently. And I think with this, I would like to ask you one question, which is basically based on your experience in your own life of teaching, and also based on looking at other teachers and also other students and the general system of education in particular, How do you see the process of teaching and the process of learning? I mean, is there a disconnect between them, or how well the connect is? What could be done to, bridge the gap that exists between teaching and learning? Because teaching happens from the perspective of teachers, mostly without the knowledge of the requirements from the students. So how do you think this process is, and what the interactions are, and how could we improve them?
Yeah, it's very important what you asked. It's a very important question. Many times the teachers think that, okay, I delivered this lecture, my work is done, I've earned today's money. The passion is not there. And learning actually does not happen because the children are looking here and there, they are not bothered, they are not interested to capture their attention and keep it. So that is very important. Yes, subject matter is very important, because in the school you have to introduce the subject matter, teach the child. But teaching alone is not going to help. You have to be aware if learning is happening. And to do that, we often have these tests. We think that by giving them tests, we get a report and we know that whether the child has learned or not. No, that is not the way to do it. Okay, it is an accepted way of auditing whatever you have done, but that is not the only way. So what we need to do is to give them more challenging questions and make it more fun for the child to do. Look forward to it. Okay, like the last school, I was given a lot of freedom to teach the way. I could go outside the content. I was the one who made the syllabus and everything. There, the children, I gave them a free hand. I said, okay, you find out. By then, internet had come, and these children they came from very rich families. They all had internet. I used to tell them, find out. And when they found out, what today in India people are talking about, the history being distorted and history being taught, those children told me that time, ma'am, do you know this happened? One child told me, ma'am, do you know Porus had not lost the war? Alexander had lost the war, but all our books told that Porus had lost the war. This child told me Alexander lost the war. See, ma'am, he got me the full printout. His father had taken it out. So that kind of interest was generated in the children because they were told, find out. I used to give them basic questions. I used to say, find out. Just one line answer. And that was a big success. We never had textbooks. That school, we did away with textbooks for history and geography and civics. We just had this question and answer sessions, and they used to come out with beautiful answers. And I'm so proud to say that many of my very brilliant students whose parents expected them to go for engineering and medical and other such professions decided to do history honors. The parents told me later, ma'am, not fair, they are doing history honors. I said, they'll do very well. And they are doing very well in life. So history was always considered as one useless subject, that could be taken off. If some maths teacher needed some more time, they used to cut my history subject and give it time and give it to her. So this was a very nice thing that we did. So what matters is not the way, this read from here to here. It's so boring. Normally, schools teachers do that. You have to make it very interesting. And I have another teacher student who I mentored. She learned from me, and she is a big hit in her school today because I told her how to work with games and have games for the children, online games and things, puzzles and things like that. And today she's a big hit in that school because it goes to her credit that she uses the computer to do all that. And she's doing extremely well. She's a wonderful teacher today. So we need teachers like that, highly motivated, not the ones, who go on in the same tone the child goes off to. The child doesn't learn anything. And another thing is, you have to connect what you're teaching to the present.
Very true.
Why is it important? Every child used to ask, today my granddaughter asked me, why should I learn maths? So you have to give a valid reason as to why maths is required. One of my students had asked me that I have calculator, I have computer, I have everything. Why do I need maths? So I tried to explain to him as well as I could. Then I told him, go and ask your maths teacher. She's responsible. So you need to give a very logical and valid answer. When they asked me about history, they said, why do I need? I said, what happened to Indus Valley civilization? Such a brilliant civilization 5,000 years ago. And what happened? It completely vanished. So today, this civilization should not vanish. So we have to understand why we had that. What is it that they did wrong? And we should not replicate it. Similarly, wars. We've had such terrible wars. Is it worth it? So how to avoid wars? These are the things that history teaches. It's not important to know when Akbar was born and when Birbal died.
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense at all.
Yes.
So all this, similarly in civics, normally teachers used to teach, okay, learn by heart your rights, your duties, the preamble of the Constitution, and things like that. I used to give them challenging questions. I used to tell them so and so was ill-treated in the thing. So which of his right was infringed upon? So the kids would go through all the rights. They would say, ma'am, this particular right, was denied to him. So that way they learned their rights. And today, most of them are lawyers and all. They always say, ma'am, it's so easy to understand our rights and things like that because of the way you taught us. So it's very important to connect the past with the present. Whatever you are teaching, whichever subject you are teaching, the child will get an interest when he or she realizes, okay, this will help me, whether be it science, be it maths, be it whatever subject, even language, you have to make the child understand why he or she should learn it. So that should be the motto of the teachers, and not just blabbering the subject matter and walking out of the class.
Yes, very true, very true. I think what you said is very apt, and if I may add to that, and I think there should be a revival of the education system, especially in India, with respect to what you just mentioned. Content is there. Content is not too bad or anything. It has good sides and bad sides of it, but rather the delivery has to give importance to different kind of aspects of the same content which is being delivered. I think we all have two faculties in our minds. I think one is memory and intellect. So current education system in India has given undue importance to memory rather than intellect. So I think once there is a paradigm shift from memory towards intellect, I think memory has to be populated from within, not from outside. So, but intellect has to be receiving information from the inside, so that from the outside as well, and then process it and then feed it back to the memory. I think this feed loop is missing in the current education system, and I think as you mentioned, it's a huge responsibility on the teachers and the education system side to make sure that this actually happens, so that the future of the students will be better. Yeah.
Another thing, people who don't get any job come for teaching. That is the reality.
Yes, that is the sad reality.
I went into teaching. My salary was very low. It was, I don't know, not even 1/10 of what my husband was earning. He was bringing bread, butter, jam, cake, everything to the house. Perhaps my salary gave a cherry on top. That's all, So for me, the money did not matter. It was being with the children and doing the best for them. But how many teachers are able to do that? For them, their kitchen fire burns because of their salary. So they are after their salary. And then you make compromises.
Yeah.
I have quit so many schools because I wouldn't compromise.
Yes.
There's a family behind waiting for it. So that kind, then today the moment a person finishes his or her graduation, he gets a job in one of those call centers for 15, 20,000, whereas teachers are being paid pittance.
Yes.
So who will come for teaching,
Yeah. Yeah.
Very few really interested people join in to teach. And that is very important. And the interview system, the way they check the teachers, it's all so redundant.
Very, very true. Yes.
So, in olden times, we had the Gurukul system where very highly qualified gurus used to teach. A child will learn very well on a mud floor.
Yes.
If the teacher is good, if the school is good. So payment has to be good. They have to see, they are the ones who are laying the foundation for all other careers. So shouldn't they be paid well? No, that doesn't happen. And they are looked down upon. Oh, you are a teacher, that's all. There was a time when, especially when we were young, oh, you are a teacher was the expression. And today you say, I'm a teacher. Oh, you are a teacher, as if you're nothing, you're just useless, good for nothing. And you have come to this profession. That has hit this education system very badly. And today with IT being given so much importance, I have IT parents coming, they look down upon us, like one even went to the extent of telling me that we are the consumers and you're the service providers. I didn't like that attitude. That we are consumers and you are service providers, so you very well do what we want you to do, kind, So that is the attitude, the arrogance that has come in. It puts down the teachers. So they think, okay, why should I work so hard?
Yes.
And there was a time when, like my mother, all the values and good things were taught by my mother. My dad was busy. Amma used to teach us, not take a class, sit in the class and teach. Just in the day-to-day affairs, we were taught how important honesty was, how important integrity was, how important morality was. Today, the mother doesn't have time.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the grandmother is nowhere to be seen. So then the child doesn't learn at home. The child is expected to learn in the school. If I teach something in the school and if the child finds it different at home, there is a difference in the value system.
Yes.
The child gets confused. The child doesn't know which way to turn, whether to take my word or the parents'
word. Yes.
Earlier, we never had this, Whenever we came back, and if ever, we never did it, but if ever any child complained that teacher scolded me, the first thing was asked, what did you do to get that scolding, to incur the teacher's wrath? Today, it is not like that. The moment you scold, you have the father, mother, the grandfather, with the camera coming up and saying, you better give an explanation. And the poor teacher doesn't know how to correct the child. Forget about this corporal punishment and all, that is all gone. But even telling the child, correcting the child has become a big offense as far as the parents are concerned. So you try what? The children don't learn at home. They don't have anybody to teach them at home. In school, we try to teach them and the parents come and interfere. So then teachers take a stand as to why should I do this? Doesn't matter to me. Let the child go to hell. I don't care. There are so many instances I can give. There was even whether it is dressing up. It is none of my business if a child dresses up. But when we take them to a camp and all, it is my responsibility to see that all the children come back safe. And there in the camp, I had found one or two girls dressed atrociously. And we not only have our teachers and the other people living in the hotel and all, we had our cooks and things like that. So I called the girls and I said, you better change and come. So there have been so many cases where children, we teach the children something and the parents teach something else. And there is a clash and the poor child is so confused.
Yes.
And only now Yeah, there is a lot of confusion. It should be, uniform, that honesty is good, whether it is at home, outside. The
Yeah.
child is see the father is bringing bribe in the school, in the house,
Mm.
and I'm teaching in the school, bribery is bad, corruption is bad. The father is doing all kinds of things, and I'm teaching in the school, and the poor child doesn't know. And children, the other peer group, they can be really mean. So, this poor child doesn't know how to react. So either the child becomes very aggressive or becomes kind of an introvert, which both are not right.
Yes.
All these things happen. We come across these things every day, and there are so many issues that the teacher has to face besides her work. There is a lot of paperwork to be done besides correcting the
True. Yeah.
papers and marking the books and everything. We come across small little things like this where um, do you're blamed if you do good, if you're blamed if you don't do it also, right from the child's eating habits. I can only give my personal example. I used to make sure my children, one loved upma, the other loved kesari bhat. I used to make both for them because I didn't want my children to go somewhere and eat something else. With that kind of thing, I find today, these things, it hurts me immensely, because if you're not able to provide good food, of what use is your earning? You may be earning in lakhs, but of what use is it if your child cannot be given the basic comforts that they
Yeah. Yes.
require?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in school, we come across so many such issues, and there are some teachers who just don't care. They even tell people like me that, why are you getting involved in this? But I cannot, right in front of my eyes, something is happening. I cannot keep quiet. I have to react. There was a boy who used to bring tiffin from his house every day, and every day he would throw it at the coconut tree, at the root of the coconut tree. I watched him for 2, 3 days, and then I called him. I said, "Come here. Why are you doing this? Your mother takes so much pain to do it." He says, "Ma'am, my mother doesn't cook. She doesn't even know. I come to school, her bedroom is closed. This is my servant, and she cooks what she likes. I
Ah.
don't like brinjal. I don't like lady's finger. She
Mm.
makes only that. So I don't feel like eating. I come back. So I don't get to talk to my mother." So there, that child found that mother or grandmother in me. So you won't believe it. For very many days, I used to carry lunch for that child, a separate packet.
Mm.
That boy belonged to a very rich family, and I used to be chided by my own colleagues, saying, "Why are you spoiling this? You are making it mandatory for others also to do it." I said, "No, it's my wish." Now, this kind of things, I used to get involved in. I don't know about other teachers. So these things, especially a sensitive teacher,
Very true.
will
Yeah.
feel very sad about it, because
Yes. Yes.
my work was not just teaching, it went much beyond
Much
that.
beyond that. Yes.
Yeah, it went beyond that. The child had to carry home certain memories, that this is done in this manner by this teacher, so I should follow that. It was the path to do. So by example, you had to teach children. Unfortunately, that passion is missing today.
Yes.
So it is done to humor the what do you say, the board of directors or whatever
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. Yes.
and everything is being put down on paper. I have never put down. Today I'm talking to you, so I'm telling you all these incidences. I never put it down on paper. I never put
Mm.
out this thing, PowerPoint presentations about these things. It was done from the heart, and I'm sure the child appreciated.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that is what is important. I cannot eat my meal when I see a child hungry
Very true.
sitting in
Yes.
front of me.
Yeah.
It's very important that the child also eats, So there have been so many instances, even during camps and all, where the child wouldn't eat. I would call him or her and buy them something, bread
Yeah.
or a bun or something, Go
Yeah.
beyond the call of duty,
Duty. Yes.
which is very important. And not many people do that. Of course, there have been many people who have done it. I'm not saying there aren't. Most of my colleagues have been like me. But there have been people who are indifferent to all these things too.
Yes.
So all this makes up learning, It is not just about the content, the syllabus.
Yes.
Learning
Yes.
happens by looking at the person. At home, you look at your parents and imbibe so many things. In school, you look at your teachers and imbibe so many things.
Very true.
So you have to live your life, walk the talk. I cannot say that I will do this and then go and do something else. So you have to walk the talk. Yeah, that's very important. Did I
Yes.
answer your question?
Yes, perfectly, ma'am. So if I would like to, just sum it up and then take things a bit forward from my perspective, I think there has been a huge emotional and a mental or intellectual discord between the teaching fraternity and the student fraternity, where the needs and the necessities are totally confused from both the levels. Students do not understand what are their needs because nobody can expect at that age for them to understand what are their exact needs. And well, of course, one fraternity which we should, as society can expect to understand the needs is the teachers fraternity. But I think these days we already have the second or the third generation of teachers in India, and because the emotional disconnect between the teachers and when they were students with their family and the emotional learning, emotional quotient did not happen when they were young. I think the same thing is getting amplified with every generation. I don't think it is sanely possible to change this process over the entire India anytime soon. I don't think so, but only I think from the education system has to be revived, keeping in mind from the perspective of the students. And I think what you mentioned about the parents is also very, very apt. Parents share the greatest responsibility in the system, in the education system. Teachers are mentors and everything, but when it goes to the home, charity begins at home, and at the same time, learning also begins at home. So it is the responsibility of the parents to make sure that their children are getting what they are supposed to get at that particular age, so that they can uh, they're not being spoon fed, or their intellectual capacity are not being undermined at the school, or they are not undermining their own children's intellectual capacities. I think they should be very, very important. And I think the system also has to revive in terms of a closed loop system rather than just an open loop system, as you mentioned. There has to be a feedback loop, and the feedback loop should strive towards improvement rather than not just for accreditations. And yes, and at the same time, as you mentioned, the teachers also should be getting better monetary benefits from the education system rather than just coming in the morning, finishing their duty, and then going back home, because going back home they have their own duties. So they have added responsibilities. And at the same time, and I think all these faculty development programs or even teacher development programs, which happens in many places, many education system or many universities, are 90% of them are targeted towards accreditations. And I think they should really be done towards the true sense of the word of faculty development program by teachers who are very well accomplished, for example, like yourself. And the to give a flavor as to what is the true education system and what is your true role and where you have been going wrong and how you could improve. And I think this closed loop system should be introduced. I think with this, these are some of my own personal comments. Of course, yours could be a bit, even adding upon to it. But before we, end this thing, would you like to say anything else?
I would also prefer a complete revamp of the education system and a paradigm shift in the way we are teaching the content. Make it more meaningful, make it more Like the other day I was listening to somebody who said that in maths, I wish they had given us 50 rupees and told us make it 100 rupees. I'll give you 10 days time. So the child goes to the market, buys and sells whatever it is. Now that is true learning, because later you have to do that.
Yes.
That person said, I wish they had told us how to do taxes. I wish they had told us how to go to the bank and get things done.
True. I think you're saying
So it has to be
activity-based learning.
practical,
Yes.
a little bit of practicality, into the teaching. Now, today, what happens is most of the schools, we have to write a lesson plan in all the schools. Some teachers have got their lesson plans which are 20 years old. They just copy paste it and give it. Now, the children have changed, the society has changed, the value system has changed, and you're teaching them the same thing. This has to change. So what the schools are doing is they are making them do more and more paperwork instead of giving them time to change it practically. So the teacher gets so bogged down with the paperwork because it has to be shown for this accreditation of I don't know, ISO something and all. And you keep doing paperwork, over and over again. And then they say we are enhancing the teacher learning by asking them to do Cambridge education something and some other exam and all. They just learn by rote. Each one, if somebody has finished, they copy that, copy paste, and it's all full of plagiarization. Nothing really happens. So then why are we wasting our time? Why can't we get down to honestly doing work? So in that context, I think we have to learn from our Gurukul system.
Yes.
It was so good. It was so good, so practical. It was that every child learned something good and came out. Today, we are churning out engineers and doctors, but they are of no use. So we need to give quality more importance than quantity. The quantum of engineers coming out should not make much difference. It is the quality. Why not we train good teachers? There are children who are, when they are small itself, they show signs of being good teachers. Train them as teachers, not look down upon it. So it's very important. Long ago, I remember my brother-in-law telling me that in Singapore, they give basic education, and after that, you are filtered. And only the best of the best go to the university level. I think all those countries have that. So why not we start looking down. Somebody has done from ITI, oh, he's done only diploma. No, that is good. Give importance to that. Give importance to other fields also. Let the child take what he or she wants and not dump them all in one box, like it's not right. We have to change our thinking. Parents have to change how they think, what they think. It's I don't know, it's going to take, I don't know, in my lifetime whether I'll see this change. I hope to. It has to change. It has to change. A lot of change has to come. And teachers have to realize their importance of their role in education system. They should not think that they are just paid maids coming and doing the job and going. It is much more than that. We are not dealing with machines. We are dealing with humans with emotions. So it is not the same as an IT person sitting in front of the computer and typing away. No, it is not that. It is, you have to look at the eyes and understand whether the child needs your help, needs your compassion at that moment. There are times when I have seen a child is not really paying attention. You just go hug the child, ask him or her what happened. Once or twice you ask and the child tells you that at home daddy and mommy had a fight, or they beat me, or they scolded me, I didn't do anything. Hug the child, tell everything will be all right. It happens. And the child then pays attention. So all these things, these nuances, you have to have time to think about it. You cannot say that it is not my responsibility. It is not like one teacher had told me, oh, then you have to dig into the family. I said, no, I am not doing it because I want to know what is happening in the family. It is affecting my student. So I need to know what is happening and then call the parents and tell them. There have been so many cases where the father and mother have had major fights, and naturally it affects 10, 12, 15-year-old, 16-year-old and all. They are at that very what do you say, impressionable age, when they don't understand what is happening around them. So they need an anchor to hold on to, and the teacher has to become that anchor. It's very important. You cannot shirk away from it. You cannot say, no, it's not my responsibility. My responsibility is just writing my lesson plan, going to the class, delivering the lecture, and coming out. No, it's much beyond that. You're going to touch the life of the child, perhaps all throughout his or her life. Somewhere you do. Like, I'm very happy and very proud to say that even today, when my students have problem, their personal problem, their other problem, they contact me. They say, ma'am, we want to talk to you. And just an hour of talking with them, they go back home in peace. Just telling them that this can be resolved like this, and this can be done like this, without getting violent, without getting upset. You can resolve it. It helps them a lot. They are all in their 30s now. They come back to me, and I feel very proud that at least they have me even at this age, to come back as an anchor, to hold back, somebody to hold on to, and tell them that, yes, this is the way it is to be done. A lot of them come back, and that is what is required. A teacher is somebody who's going to be in your life all your life. She or he should be there, all your life. That, okay, when I go to him or her, I get the answers to my life problems also. Sometimes they are not able to deal with the problems that life throws at them. And then they don't know. And I always tell them, before taking the terrible step of taking away your life, please call me once. It's my open listing to everyone, invitation to everyone. Call me once. Tell me what is bothering you. Perhaps I can help you.
Yes.
And I've been able to help them. And that's very important, because life is very precious. We all have only this one life. So how we are going to enhance this life, live a better life. By living a better life, I don't mean that you get a bigger house and a bigger car and 10 more cars. No, that doesn't make life. You should have peace, mental peace, happiness. I look around, I'm contented. I'm very happy with what I have achieved, what I'm doing. I was what I was 20 years ago and what I am today. The progress I have made in every field makes me contented. So that is how you should look at life, not as a competition. He's doing better than me. He has got a bigger car. He has got a bigger house, things like that. No, they don't matter. You're going to leave all this here and go. Just have a lot of mental peace, satisfaction, goodness in you. That matters a lot. I always say, you need not look very pretty. The goodness in you will show on your face. It will reflect on your face, and automatically it matters. It matters a lot. And that is what I think teachers need to learn. Very important.
Very true.
That you're going to touch every aspect, especially when you are in higher secondary or maybe junior college. The students are very confused. You need to guide them properly with lot of love, affection, without using scathing language, because that can undo a lot of things. So very patiently you need to deal with these children, because they are having a lot of problems of their own. There are physical changes happening in their life. There are changes happening in the society. There are changes happening in their houses, in their homes. So dealing with all this, the poor child doesn't know where to turn. So
Yes.
at that time, a teacher, whether it is in college or in school, very important to hold the hand of the child and not think that he is grown up, he doesn't need me. Needs all the time. Every human being needs somebody to hold on to.
Yes.
And it is best that the teacher becomes that.
Very, very well said, madam. I think, I think this conversation and also discussion and also interview, I think what the points that you said, I think it raises a lot of new stages for introspection, both students, teachers, and especially very importantly, parents. Uh, and I really hope that education system, whoever could see this, takes a point or two from this and then actually implements them. And I think even one point, what you said, if it could be implemented efficiently, then I think the particular system would improve that bit
True.
over there. So I think people really should open up to these, long forgotten concepts of education, where like we are just falling onto the bandwagon of degrees and then getting on with the software. Instead of making people who can serve, we should make people who can lead and then develop and innovate. So those things can only happen when like the education system, the base education system, especially in the school, is very good. I think that's where it should happen properly. I think what you said about touched also about the problems that teachers face, especially for like in a very uh, day-to-day basis. Like they have their own constraints, and it's not just teaching. There's so many other things to do. And also, I think what you said about the economically very affluent parents and also non-affluent parents, and I think they need to be, introspecting about what they could be doing wrong in motivating or bringing up their child when it comes to their education. I think because it's not just, like getting a degree and then going forward in life, but it's also about how well you look after yourself and the people around you with good morality and good equality, and those things are also equally important, not just getting marks, as you said, and system should also start focusing more on, I think, the other aspects of education which are not in the mainstream, where especially the art and also the other things which which can trigger the innate capability of every human mind to start learning and to innovate. Every mind is capable of extreme innovation, but I think the current system has totally bottlenecked it, and it's pretty much stopped from exploring
There is
those
no
capabilities.
scope for skill development in the
Yeah,
present scenario.
exactly. In the
There
school,
is
yeah.
no scope for skill development.
I
We
think that
need to give importance to that.
yes, that
Need to
has to
give
come back.
importance.
Yes, and students should also learn about life skills and not just their trade skills. I think that's very important. I think we have had a wonderful time here.
One thing I would like to say that kindness, truthfulness, integrity, all these are universal languages,
Mm,
appreciated everywhere.
yes.
Kindness, like I remember when we went to UK, in London, the people were quite snobbish. They were not friendly like our Indians. And
Yeah.
we were in front of Harrods, and we were looking up at Harrods, and you know how with our eyes all open, we were staring at it. And suddenly, an elderly English lady, she slipped and she fell. And immediately, my friend and I, we ran and picked her up. And the others just glared at us. You know, it is so Indian in us that we go and help a person.
Very true. Yes.
Later, the teacher from UK, she told me that, Hema, in India, in England, we don't do this. We don't touch people. I said, but the person, she was an elderly woman and she fell down and she was struggling to stand up. So we just helped her. She said, no, we don't do it. They can get up on their own, or they call the doctors or police to help them. I found it quite, silly, and
Very,
I
very
don't know.
silly.
My upbringing has not taught me that.
Yeah.
Though the lady herself was very grateful, she thanked us 2-3 times. So this kind of education that we have had, and being honest, being kind, being considerate, and all that, which is world over, it is appreciated more than, once you go abroad, you just make a first time, perhaps they see your degrees and all. After that, you build up with your own good values.
Very true.
So that is very important. Unfortunately, those are not being given importance today. Yeah, by the parents, by the teachers, by the school. So all that needs to come back. All those basic values need to come back if
Yes.
we want to be really successful.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Well, I think with this we can stop this, and I think I will thank you very much for this for your time. It's been a wonderful experience to go through the talk and also to listen to the points that you just mentioned. And really thank you. And I really look forward to talking to you once again.
My
Yes.
pleasure.
Thank you, madam. The pleasure is all mine.